Well, what do we got here? It looks like it's episode number 5 of The Grail. Welcome aboard. I'm a day late because I had no idea what day it was. And that's just the truth. I was just out there doing this Texas tour of stand-up with my man Bill Burr and completely rolling a Groundhog's Day. Every day the same. No idea what it was. And here it is, Thursday. So not only am I putting up this podcast, but I had to record 2 other podcasts today. So it's just all day on the microphone, which I cannot complain. I can't think of a better job to have than sitting here on the mic. I got something good for you today. So, of course, if you're new here, and you just discovered me through Let There Be Talk in the last year or last week or month or whatever, for years and years, I've been doing the handmade series over on Let There Be Talk. And I've said this, that's what this show is. I wanted to move it all over to one platform. And today, I'm bringing a episode to you from February 23rd, 2015. And I know most of you did not hear it. That is the point of doing this show, having new stuff on and old new, because a lot of people didn't listen to the podcast back in the day, and I had amazing handmaders on there. Today is no exception. Today was a milestone for me back in February 2015. I got to sit down with Jason Schott, who is one of the owners of the legendary Schott NYC Leather Jacket Company. Been around since, I believe, 1913. Can you believe that? 1913, a family-owned business still to this day, still made in the United States by hand in a factory with over 103 people making these amazing leather jackets. All right. I'm telling you, Schott is the original. They invented the motorcycle jacket. They invented the cross zip leather jacket that you know and love. The one that started it all. The one the Ramones wear. The one Bruce Springsteen wears on the cover of Born to Run. The one that Marlon Brando wears on the incredible film, The Wild One. Everyone wears a leather jacket at some point in their life. Punk rockers, metalheads, outlaws, movie stars, they all wear Schott leather jackets. Even Lady Gaga right now can be seen in a Schott. 2 great stores, one in New York and one in LA. And then, of course, all their online business. And I'm telling you, I listened back to this episode today and I was like, man, this is great. One thing that was interesting about it was listening to my interview style back then. I don't know if you call it a style. You don't really have a style. It's like comedy. When you first start out, you're just trying to survive. You're doing the thing and learning as you go along, but you don't know what you're doing. And that was kind of what it was like for me in the early days of podcasting and comedy. And then you kind of settle in and start to find things, but you always learn. And as I listened to this episode today, I was learning like, wow, I was just steamrolling over Jason Schott on the couch there back in 2015. But that was mostly because I was so excited to interview this man. I've loved Schott leather jackets since I was a kid, and I got my first one in high school, and I've never looked back. I still have that high school one, and it fits me again now, which is even crazier. It fits me again, so that's kind of cool. To put on your old high school leather jacket. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, and I hope you dig this one. I am, of course, a leather jacket addict. I've been a leather jacket addict all my life, and I love so many different companies, but Schott really is the ground zero for me on all things leather. So sit back and enjoy this. Thank you so much again for tuning into the Grail. Every week, I hope that you find something interesting with each guest, because these guys are the true heroes out there. The people that make shit by hand, the people that work for themselves, the people that grind it out with no guarantee. And it's cool to turn people on to other people's, rad shit, man. Anyway, here we go. Got a great guest today, Jason Schott. How are you, buddy?
I'm sitting on a couch with Dean Del Rey in Los Angeles. I'm doing great.
People are like, who's Jason Schott, right? But you're from the Schott family, which is the oldest, what do you think, the oldest motorcycle leather company in the world?
I would say the oldest that's still around.
Right.
My great-grandfather started the company in 1913, so we've been around for 102 years, still run every day by a Schott family member.
That's insane. And made in the USA.
Made in the USA, that's
right. That's crazy. Now, 1913, first of all, I love Schott jackets. It was my first jacket. I tell the story. Back when I was buying a jacket, it was you wanted one because rockers wore them. Metallica, Ramones, Springsteen. So I lived in San Fran in the Bay Area, and I wanted to get a jacket that you got to go to Polk Street, which is the gay neighborhood. And I went with my father, who was from Texas. We went into hard-on leathers, and I got my first Schott. And it was my introduction into the leather jacket world. I was in 10th grade.
You had a good father to take you into hard-on leathers.
Yeah. I don't think he wanted to go. It wasn't his choice.
But he went with you, so that's a good thing.
So 1913, what are they making in 1913?
So they started by making fur-lined raincoats.
Okay.
And it was my great-grandfather and his brother.
In New York City?
In New York City.
What neighborhood?
And it was the Lower East Side, East Broadway.
Yeah.
And they worked with street peddlers that went door to door selling their wares. And it wasn't until the 1920s that they got into leather or at least into the motorcycle jacket. And that was really a profound moment for the company. It was a profound moment for fashion. If you look at all of the people that have worn motorcycle jackets and how impactful it's been, he had this opportunity. People were using zippers only really in money belts.
Right.
And
wow.
So,
it was all button-up jackets back then, right?
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
And so the people from Talon came to my great-grandfather.
The zipper people.
The zipper people.
And where are they out of?
I'm not even sure.
Right.
They must have had some kind of a base in New York at that point, but I don't know exactly where they're from. But they are the ones that invented the zipper.
Wow. Talon invented the zipper.
Yeah.
Never even knew that. It's so funny because as much as leather jackets are key to me, it's the pieces on the jacket too. Does it have the original Talon zipper, or even those old Crown military spring-loaded zippers? Those things are next level to me.
So, even Talon it's not the same company anymore.
It's not.
Somebody owns the name. But it's really incredible. If you imagine when they started making zippers, they were polishing teeth one at a time. They didn't have massive machinery to make these things. And so zippers were very expensive. It wasn't until coming into World War II that the U.S. government saw a need for zippers. They saw that it was going to keep people warm, and pilots needed them. And so they placed an order for 250,000 zippers.
Wow.
And it was the first time that somebody had to figure out how to mass produce them.
Yeah, you couldn't make those by hand.
No.
That's what wiped out Indian, because they couldn't make enough bikes for World War II. So they're out, and Harley could.
Exactly.
It was all military back then, man. Your whole money was made by what military needed. Nuts, tools, tires.
Well, all the civilian clothing effort, all the manufacturing, everything for civilians stopped, and it was all focused on the war effort.
Right.
It's a very different time than it is.
Yeah, we got to make shit to go kill people. You guys are out.
But at the time, there was a fear.
Protection.
It was protection. It was a fear of what was going on in the world. It's a much safer place now.
Yeah.
But I think you look at the or at least it's safer from a grand.
Yeah,
scheme of
yeah.
things.
I get it. It was just simpler back then. These guys against us. It wasn't
That's
like,
right.
you know, it's all kinds of weird war now. You know, you got online war, you got chemical war, you have drone war. You know what I mean?
I think it was a simpler time in that everybody worked really hard.
Right.
And I think that when you put your head down and you work hard, you don't have all this time to think about, am I happy, or what's going wrong in my life, or you just, our great-grandparents, our grandparents, they worked hard because they had to, and they didn't worry about whether they were happy or not. Now it's like, it's almost like our lives are too good. We have too much free time to think about. And
people think the life owes them something. I'm here, you owe me, I'm alive. You know what I mean?
I guess so. I don't know. But, you know, fortunately, my great-grandfather, I knew him until he was 99.
Wow. Is that the one that started it?
Yes.
Man.
Grandpa Irving.
How many guys started? It's a couple
two
brothers?
guys. It was Irving and his brother Jack.
Man.
And, you know, he was a proud guy, but he wore a tie clip that was the acronym. It was, you can't do business sitting on your ass. And that was the way he ran his company, and that was the way he taught us. So
what are they? Italian? What are you guys? Italian? What was the fella?
Russian.
Russian.
Yeah.
Russian guys started Schott. Never.
He was born in New York.
Wow.
But his parents immigrated from Russia.
Wow.
Yep.
So the zippers come along.
Yeah.
And we're talking about World War II time. And they start to make a leather jacket. What do they make a leather jacket for? Just warmth? Because leather jackets aren't warm. But back then, it's probably warmer than any, you know, because now you got like down, like, you know, you got like a Montclair that weighs an ounce. You put it on, you're burning up.
Right. It goes way before World War II. It was actually in the 20s when they came up with motorcycle jackets. And they were making them out of sheepskin as well. I mean, you could make warmer ones, but if you look at how animals kept themselves warm with skin and with fur, and they were doing the same thing. That's they've done it for a lot longer than we have. So they were taking these jackets just to stay warm. All the modes of transportation were outdoors. I mean, open cockpit airplanes, the motorcycles. So they had these like grizzly jackets, you know, the ones with
I know that with the fur.
Yeah, which we're actually bringing back this year.
Yeah, everybody, those are like jackets that I always see and go, I want one of those, and I put it on and go, I can't. It's just the collar is too big to put a helmet on, you know?
Right.
But I do love the old worn out grizzly jacket. If people don't know what we're talking about, it's basically like a motorcycle looking jacket with fur sewn on the front of it. It looks just like if you saw a guy at the beach that was all hairy. You know, Jersey Shore just out there.
An old guy with white furry hair,
But it's loaded with fur. Those jackets are really cool, man.
They are. And I think, you know, even with the black asymmetrical biker jacket, people have this perception I can't carry that off, but it's transformative. You know, you put one on and it just changes your perception. You feel like a badass the moment you try one on.
I've heard that a million times. It's amazing. People go, you know, you can pull that off. Right. Whenever people say you can pull that off, it's like they don't understand. When I was in the 10th grade and I got the jacket, I wore it to school. No one was wearing those, you know. It was like Ramones, Springsteen. There was like icons. But really, when you wore it to school, kids were wearing down jackets back then, or Adidas sweatsuits or whatever, you know, was popular. But if you wore that, it was such a statement of like, oh, that guy's rock and roll. That guy's dangerous. It's amazing, a piece of clothing, even in the 80s. I'm talking 82 when I was in high school, that meant something. You know, now they're all over, but it's so weird. I'd wear it to school, and the first couple weeks, I felt weird wearing it.
You know, that started from Marlon Brando and The Wild One.
Right.
You know, in 1953, they came out with this movie where he was a gang member. I mean, it was a different meaning of a gang member, but still, he was this badass. And people started wearing the jackets. At one point in the 50s, it was banned from schools.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And the kids wanted them more, of course. So at that point, there was no holding back. And ever since that point, that was the outfit for the outcasts, for the badasses.
The greaser.
And,
you know, even that film, he wears a Schott.
Yes,
he wears the 613 the star
right,
one,
with
right?
the star on the epaulette.
Right.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about how that jacket comes about. They're making the furry one, you know. How does this design, who invents that design? Is it Schott?
That was, yes.
That
was
actual
my
design of that
great-grandfather.
jacket.
He was the first person to put a zipper in a jacket, and therefore inventing the motorcycle jacket as we know it.
That's insane.
Yeah, he started as a pattern maker when he was doing the raincoats and some other items, and he saw this opportunity. And there's a lot of function built into it. I mean, the asymmetrical shape allows you to zip it up, and you're closing off all the wind gaps.
Right.
It's a little bit easier when you're leaning over your bike, so that the zipper's not gonna pinch into you.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of thought.
The kidney back part, the kind of kidney belt part.
Yeah. Gives you extra protection.
Yep. And then the zipped up arms so they were tighter so wind wouldn't go up there. Because what a lot of people don't understand, when you're riding and you wear a jacket that doesn't fit, it blows up like a fucking kite.
A balloon floating out there.
I always see guys, they'll go down the road in those bad made in Taiwan Harley jackets, and they'll be a hair too big, and they're...
And then you end up popping seams.
Yeah.
It can't handle
It's just all
anymore.
junk, you know? What I'm trying to figure out is, there's no design like that before. The look has never changed.
Right.
It is the icon. I mean, to me, it's as much of like it should be in the Hall of Fame, you know, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should be in all over, because that jacket is immediately biker. It's rocker. It's outlaw. It's everything about it. The look of it.
Well, we do have a jacket in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was donated by Marky Ramone.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ramones wore our jackets as well.
Of course.
And so, you know, I don't know when that transformation happened, where it went from the biker jacket to the rocker jacket, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it was just taken over by the rockers. And so the Ramones and Springsteen, and then even modern day rockers and
Strokes. You know, I mean, I just saw Julian wearing a Schott recently in photos, you know?
And Guns N' Roses.
Of course.
And then you got, like, Jay-Z and Adam Levine. And then the women, like Lady Gaga and Rihanna.
Yeah, they all love him.
Yeah.
So he's putting together this jacket. Is it a hit at first, do you know? Do people go, I got to have this?
No, it was still expensive. Even though the first one sold for, I think, $5.50.
Wow. First ones are horsehide?
You know, there was horse, there was goat. I don't know exactly which one the first one was.
Right.
But it was, you know, that's why sometimes you see these two-tone jackets that were, people would cut whatever leather they had. So that's how they ended up with two-tone sometimes. So they got their hands on horsehide or goat or cow. That's what they were making.
You mean the shades of the black?
No,
or
even
just a white
brown leather.
I got
the way it was tanned.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that because that's another look that goes back very far, as these two-tone jackets.
Yeah, I love the two-tone jacket.
Yeah,
it's a black and white. Just such it's such a weird, to me. It's British, like, you know, British rockers like the Clash or even heavy metal Saxon would have a two-tone black and white, you know. Lewis did that a lot. Lewis Leathers would make colored jackets and stuff.
I think Buco as well was doing that. We've got some in our history as well. We've made some from back in the day.
But
even the brown and black, I've seen some of our vintage brown and black jackets.
Yeah.
But to answer the question, the jacket was not that popular. I mean, the banning it from schools was what really took it over the top. There were concerns. I mean, when they first banned it from schools, Schott was, you know, the company was definitely concerned about.
Yeah, like what are we going to do?
Sales.
Yeah.
But you know, we were still making jackets for the military. There were plenty of other styles out there, but you know, nothing that became as popular as the biker jacket, of course.
Now, at the time, do they only make one biker? Is it just the 613? That's it. The design back then.
No, they had a bunch. In fact, even before the 613 or the asymmetrical biker, they had the D pocket.
Oh, did they invent the deep pocket or Buka?
I believe the first jacket that we did was a deep pocket, came even before the asymmetrical.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because Buka is so known for the deep pocket, you know. Right. Now, they also made jackets for Beck at the time, right?
Yes.
Schott. Now, what was that? Like another family? Because for a while, there was like JCPenney's Schotts, right?
No, so we didn't do anything for... JCPenney is one of those old school brands that was into motorcycle jackets or leather from back in the day. Montgomery Ward was another one.
I remember this.
I think the line for Sears was Hercules,
That's right, Hercules.
No, but we didn't make for any of those guys, but we were for Beck. Beck was a Harley Davidson dealership.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes, and so
I never knew that.
So we were making jackets for Beck, and the nice thing about it was that we were a regional company at that point, but Beck had this catalog that went throughout the country, and so Beck was really important for us to help expand the reach,
right?
For Schott jackets to go out throughout the country.
Now, at the time they're making these, where's the factory? Is it still? It was in New York at the time.
So it started in the basement in
Lower East Side,
Broadway, and Lower East Side. There was a very brief period of time they moved out to Staten Island. So at some point in the 40s, we moved out to New Jersey, and we've been in New Jersey ever since.
Where at in Jersey? So
we moved around. We were in Perth Amboy for 60 years. Then Elizabeth, and now we're in Union, New Jersey. And it's one of those, I'm such a fan of American production, and I think it's so important. And it's so important. I just have such pride to know that we actually produce something, that we actually make something. I think...
in America. Because people don't understand how hard that is, right? You know how rich you'd be if you just had it made in China, It's just like, but you can't do that because this is like, when Converse, Chuck Taylor sold to like China or whatever, to me, I'm out. That's it.
For us, we're putting our name into these jackets, and it's important for us to be there, and I don't feel like moving to China anytime soon, so I feel like we need to stay here and keep an eye on the production and stay a part of it and make sure that it's that my great-grandfather would still be proud.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how many employees you got there?
So we have about 110 people right now.
Wow.
And it's nice. It's a good size. We were larger in the 80s and 90s, and then, around 2000, nobody cared where your jackets were made. And we, of course, were still committed to it. But things have come back in a big way. We've added, I think we added about 20% people last year. We added capacity.
Yeah.
We couldn't make jackets fast enough. And I think that's a testament to where we are as a country, that people are starting to look at where their products are made.
Well, also, it seems like whenever there's a rock boom, like 80s, you said you were huge in the 80s. Was that mostly rock? And Harley was huge in the 80s again.
Right.
Harley was bigger than ever in the 80s. They buy the factory back from AMF, the employees.
Yes.
Now you got to fucking get on a waiting list to get a Harley. And you just got on the list, you show up, and they go, yours over there, blue. You go, I want black. They go, sorry, you got to wait another year.
The blue one for you.
Now they need a jacket. Then you've got rock is bigger than ever. You got Motley Crue. You got Metallica. You got Guns N' Roses. All the bands are wearing leather jackets.
Absolutely.
That
was a huge part of it.
Yeah, you can't have a fucking band without a leather jacket,
It was also at a point when we were exporting. The exporting really grew. We were huge in Italy, in Japan. We've become huge in France and the UK. It's really great to see these other markets that appreciated Americana and made in America long before we appreciated it here.
Oh, yeah. Like when you go to Japan, you realize they worship our looks. Right. And other people just step right over it,
You want to go and do some good vintage shopping, you need to go to Japan now.
Yeah, right, because they came and bought everything in the 80s.
Exactly.
They just hit Melrose and bought everything we had.
Exactly. There's another thing that we've seen, another trend, which is, I think, around the time the economy shit the bed in 2008, there was people decided not to invest. They didn't want disposable fashion anymore. You know, this disposable chic. It wasn't meaningful to them. It was like a waste to buy stuff that you're going to wear for a few times and then it's not going to be good anymore.
Right.
And so I think they started to look for quality products and quality brands, and so that's definitely helped us out as well.
Wow. So you guys are making jackets, and I remember I'm maybe 19. I'm at a flea market in Marin County. There's a famous flea market where the projects were where Tupac grew up. They used to have a flea market out in front of there, and there would be two guys that brought vintage leathers. And I never forgot the day. The guy was like, "You need a buco, man. Buco's where it's at." And I was like, "What's a buco?" He's like, "God, they're made in Detroit. Schott shut him down." This is the story, the old flea market story. He said that like Schott had like, "You pay us to make jackets or we're shutting you down." Anything on that?
Absolutely not.
Isn't that that's a flea market yarn.
I will tell you, although I probably would get in trouble with my family, but my grandfather, who isn't mentally with us anymore, used to tell a story. When we moved into Perth Amboy, I think it was 1986, he bought another building, and we were moving because we needed more space. And Cooper, which is another old school leather, it's on the military side, but Cooper was there leasing the building, and my grandfather took such pride in the fact that he got to kick Cooper out so that we moved in. So that one is true, but I don't know of anything.
That's hilarious, right? Like, what do you know what happened to Buco? Did it just go out of business one day? I mean, it was, like, I guess if you're not selling to the military or whatever, but they were up until the 60s,
I think sometimes it becomes multi-generational businesses are tough, and I think they probably just got to a point where they didn't want nobody was going to take it over in the next generation,
right? So it just goes away.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to think though. You guys invent the D pocket leather biker jacket, then all of a sudden they're just making the same fucking jacket. How is that not like back then? Like we're gonna sue you or beat your ass or anything.
Well, there was no patent on
trademarks.
Right.
You're right. You just start making one like it.
Yeah, the one thing that we did trademark was Perfecto, the name Perfecto, and in some parts of the world they call a Perfecto that biker jacket.
Right.
And my great grandfather at the time figured nobody's going to want to wear a jacket with my name on it, so he labeled it Perfecto jacket.
Where do you get that name? Just it was the perfect jacket?
It was his favorite cigar. He liked a Perfecto cut cigar. And
whoa!
I guess he came up with an idea, and so he ended up... So over time, Perfecto, like Kleenex or Xerox, people have sometimes used it to call their biker jacket a Perfecto. But, we have to remind them.
Yeah, shut them down.
It's only a Perfecto jacket if it's made by Schott.
Right. So the early jackets, a lot of people don't understand, they're crazy short.
Yes.
Because the men's pants went above their belly button, like 22-inch rise. It's weird when you look at Brando and you're watching The Wild One, you're thinking that guy probably looks cooler than any human on the planet ever.
Exactly.
No one's touched that look. He's at the corner. What are you rebelling against? He's like, what do you got?
Exactly.
That scene, he's there. He's got the hat and everything. You immediately run out. You want to be him. You get the jacket and you go, what the fuck is this thing? It's up to your tits. Like,
right.
It's so short. The arms are all baggy and shitty. It's a horrible fit. But back then, everybody's clothes were different.
It's funny how things like that work. I look at it with the Ramones, and they were tall guys.
Yeah.
And so, Joey Ramone in particular had really long arms. And so he's wearing this jacket when it's about 2 inches too short on him probably. And they didn't do it on purpose. They weren't trying to create a look. They just didn't have the money at the time to get custom made clothing.
Yeah.
So they went out and bought these jackets, and they're too short on them, and that became the trend. And so people are wearing their sleeves short.
It's hilarious, right? Because
Yeah.
like when I get a jacket, I put it on, I go, God, this looks like shit. I'm such an anal weirdo. I'm like, it's pulling in the shoulders. The gussets are blown out. Oh, this is terrible. You know, the arms or whatever, you know. And you look at the Ramones, nothing looks more rock than them sitting there. They've got the arms pushed up,
Right.
the sleeves, the jacket, the gussets are all blown out because they got weird wide shoulders. They look great, but me, I'm like, I hate that. You know,
That's right.
They just fucking threw them on like coats of armor and rolled it. It's crazy, man.
It is. And you know, you were talking about how you had this old jacket that you wanted to clean up because vintage, when you had a jacket, what was it, in the 90s?
80s.
In the
yeah,
80s.
that jacket's from 82, that one I showed you.
Okay.
Yeah, and it
so-
started to fade.
Right, and you didn't like the fading, so you started cleaning it up. And
Yeah, I wanted it to look new, you know, always like black. Because the thing is, when you ride a long time in the sun, they fade to gray.
yes.
So all of a sudden, your jacket's not the black leather jacket, it was gray. So,
And sometimes you can't even control it, but sometimes certain panels will fade more than others, and you get this patchwork.
I've seen that
patchwork
before,
jacket.
man. What is that
Yeah,
from?
It's just the way. I mean, the art of tanning is really intricate, and you know, it can where the animals were sourced and the time of year in which they were slaughtered can have an effect on the way the leather's going to look. Sometimes it's the way the dye takes to some
Right,
parts
to
of
the
skin
pigment and stuff, like on
versus
the skin,
others.
yeah.
And so, but it's
Mine was gray, like shark skin. It almost looked like a great white shark's kind of that off gray green. You
right.
know?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that there's a good segment of our customers who would never buy a vintage jacket. They want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
They want to. Every scratch should tell a story about
totally,
somewhere they've been.
totally.
And then there's the other side of the fans who
Wants them beat up.
yeah, they don't want to put all that effort into making it look right. And so, you know, we play around with both. So we've been playing around with vintaging jackets. And so, you know, for us, we have to work really hard to try to duplicate that greenish tint.
It's
that's
hilarious,
underneath
right?
the leather.
Well,
Yeah.
now I wish I had that. Well, that one wouldn't fit. My mom has that jacket still. It doesn't fit me. It's funny. The first jacket I got was a 38. You know, now I wear 42, sometimes 44, but in Schott, like 42.
That's our built-in obsolescence for people get bigger and they come and get more jackets.
Yeah. I think the key thing is there's a woman that answers all your questions on the website. She's fantastic. She
Gail.
gets back to you. But I think one of the key problems that companies do is they don't use technology enough. Mm-hmm. They've got this great product, but they're old school in the product, but they don't know the new world. To me, if somebody says, what's the fit like? You've got two people. You got one guy that wants to be able to move around. He's kind of fatter and stuff. He wants to ride and be able to move. And in case he grows into it, he wants to put a hoodie underneath it. He wants to layer up. You got that guy. Then you got the rock and roller. I think if you shot a YouTube video and you went, here's a 40, 613 on a guy that's 6 feet tall, you can see what a 40 looks like, and you can see what a 38 looks like. Now, if you want that rock and roll thing, the Ramones, you go the 38. If you want to move around, you go this, and you just see the guy in a video. It's fucking done. But when you got someone going, they always try to upsell you, every company I've ever gone to, of, you should probably go the 44. Then you get it and you go, it's not the 44. I want rock and roll. Because they don't want, you know, they think everybody wants to have it fit where you can put something underneath it. I live in California. I don't need shit underneath this. I barely need a leather. It's so hot.
Well, yeah. Fortunately, it gets cold at night. But I think you're right. What you've said is a great idea and something we strive to do. It's also why we opened a store in LA, so that we've got a place where people can go and try on our jackets.
Yeah.
And so we've got the whole selection, and you know,
it's incredible, the store. It's funny because Jacob Dillon and I, we love leather jackets. Well, that's all we fucking talk about. We're weirdos. We're at a dinner party, like, yeah, did you see that one? So he hits me about a month ago and he goes, yeah, you see you been to the Schott store? And no, they got one. He goes, everyone in there too. even the Japanese stuff. I was there the next morning because you could finally put on every jacket you saw on the website. Because most stores, even if they had your brand, they would have 2 or 3. They can't have them all.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden you're getting into, oh, this jacket I got here, it fits better than any jacket I've ever had. Japanese 603. You know, I love this jacket.
So when you say it's Japanese, it's a piece that we made specifically for the Japanese market that we liked too much not to save it for our stores as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because I was talking about sizing of jackets. So, of course, we have in the 50s, you've got that Brando, that man high pants, short jacket.
Right.
60s, they get a little longer, not much, unless you got the cafe styles like Buco J100. That thing would be like 20. All jackets now are like 25 length from the seam back. You know, length. All of them, some are 24, some are 26, 27. So, but most the general is 25 back, 25 arm. And so in the 70s, you guys, they kind of fit for normal people, you know. It seems like, well, the pant, I think the waist is going down a little bit. It's still not what it is now. But then in the 80s, they seem to be like right about perfect fit. And then somewhere along the way, and I talked to somebody, they said because hip-hop people were buying your, urban markets were buying your jackets later, they got all big and boxy.
It got big in the 80s because if you look at the fashion of the 80s, everything was big. I mean, even it started in the 70s with the big collars and the Arnold Schwarzenegger era.
Those big leather jackets like Dice, Andrew Dice Clay was playing. Yeah.
That's right.
Because Dice, all his jackets were giant. They were more like show pieces. You got Arsenio Hall. He's wearing crazy jackets, leathers, you know. But do you purposely start just changing the patterns? Like, we got to make them just bigger?
Yeah, at that time we did.
Yeah, yeah.
And since then, we've gone way back. You know, it's... The look right now is much tighter.
Well, yeah, and somebody said an amazing thing. They said not only do rockers wear slim stuff, but now the hip hop world, because of Kanye, Jay-Z and stuff, they wear like really awesome tight fashion stuff. You know what I mean? Like really nice clothes that are all fitted. It's no more just loose stuff all falling off.
Yeah, this oversized thing is not happening anymore.
Yeah, and especially in rock and roll. I remember I weigh like 185 right now, but I used to wear baggy clothes, like, you know, just to move around and say, then you start wearing clothes that fit you. People go, man, you lost a lot of weight. Nah, I bought shit that fits. You know what I mean?
It makes a big difference.
It really does.
The right clothing, it makes a big difference in your appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in a leather jacket if it's not all big and goofy.
Yes.
Now, what years does they stop using horse and why? I know horse is illegal now. Is it legal?
Not that I know of.
Right.
No, it's still legal. So it should be said that all of the leather that we use is a byproduct of the meat industry.
Of course. Yeah. So you're not just out slaughtering.
No. Right. In fact, when that whole thing happened with the mad cow disease, they were it wasn't even worth it to skin the cows and save the leather. If they couldn't use the meat, they just were destroying these animals.
Right.
You know, it was to save the rest of them, but the leather wasn't used. The leather is a byproduct of the meat industry totally. Horse is still eaten in certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know, in Canada they eat horse, in Italy they eat horse. And
that's where you can buy horse.
Exactly. So our leather, it ends up being sourced from the parts of the world that consume those animals. So cowhide, which is our bread and butter, there's tons of cows in the U.S.
Yeah, there is.
And the best cows, I mean the cleanest for making leather jackets is U.S.
Right.
U.S. domestic cows.
Now, do you have a shitload of old vintage jackets at the place from over the years, like a cool museum or anything?
So we got a talking to from Rin Tanaka years ago.
Yeah.
Rin Tanaka is a vintage historian. He's a really great guy Japanese guy who moved to Nashville he was trying to become a musician, and so he moved to Nashville, and he just fell in love with the culture, and rather than going into music, decided to just go around the country documenting the vintage and the history of the U.S.
Which is some of the best books ever. If you're listening to this, check out these. The Rin Tanaka Schott book is unbelievable, and so are his other books, you know.
He does a great job.
The first one I ever got was, I'm a leather jacket freak, so the first one he put out was that coffee table book of all the jackets, and I'm losing my mind.
Right.
Because you're seeing these companies you've never heard of. They're probably really small, around a couple years in maybe the 50s. You know, and then you're going like, whoa, look at this. Look at that. You're seeing colors. You're seeing race jackets. Jeff Decker and I are good friends. You're seeing all these old flat tracker jackets and shit. So he's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he just showed up in our factory one day and wanted to interview us, and we had no idea. At that point, he hadn't come out with his first book, but was a nice enough guy. We brought him around. He took some pictures, and sure enough, it ended up in the book. But he was lecturing us at some point that, the number one collector of Harley Davidson bikes is Harley Davidson, and the number one collector of Schott jackets should be Schott.
That's correct.
You know, at that point, my great grandfather was, like I said, a hardworking guy, but he wasn't worried about the history.
He just sells anything that's in there. Get rid of it.
Exactly.
Here's an old prototype. Fuck yeah, another 20.
Sell it at the end of the season. Sell everything out.
Yeah.
He wasn't into holding on to stuff. So when we did the book, I had to go searching through. You know, my grandmother fortunately had bags of old pictures that they didn't make the photo albums for the family, but fortunately there were pictures I'd never seen of the original store that ended up in the book.
That's incredible.
And so during that time, I went out and I'm always looking for vintage jackets.
Right.
But we didn't have too much of that about 15 years ago.
That's wild. Now, once they get the company going, was there an actual storefront you could go in and buy a shop? What was that like? Just sold motorcycle jackets and all the stuff they sold?
Yeah. I've seen pictures and I try to blow them up and really analyze what's in the windows. I found this one picture my grandmother had. They used to deliver jackets in boxes, the way they would do shoe boxes. And so I have one picture that's just floor-to-ceiling boxes that were the Perfecto boxes.
Wow.
And so we've recreated that, and for special functions or special products, we'll deliver them in a Perfecto box.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit like a tailor's shop, I guess. You know, you'd go in and you'd get measured, and they had just a...
Kind of like how Langwood still is now. You ever go to Langwood's?
I've seen pictures and I've never gone.
It's crazy. It's just a small little, looks like a little
workshop.
Yeah, and you go in there and they measure you up and make you a jacket and they send it to you wrapped in a brown like butcher paper.
Right.
You know, there's not even a box.
Yeah, and I think it's great that there are craftsmen like that around. That there's brands that are still doing it. I mean, I was just in Vegas for the clothing show.
Yeah.
And
would you see anything good?
Not a lot. There's a lot of crap out there. But what's encouraging is there's a lot of young people who are interested in making product, in learning how to do something. We've had a lot of people reaching out wanting to try apprenticeships, and so I think that it's promising for the future. That there's this backlash to all the imported goods, and people are starting to try to use their hands a little bit more.
Well, I'm pretty blown away. Like at Inspiration, which is Rin Tanaka's show, there's a kid there, 24 years old, Hispanic guy, Brian the bootmaker. He's making these motorcycle boots by hand that were unbelievable, the quality. 24-year-old kid. I think that the more that people make stuff by hand, like a primo leather jacket or boots or anything, you're just like, wow, that guy made that.
Right.
I'll pay him. You know what I mean?
We have a lot of people who come in and visit our factory, even people who are in the fashion industry who have never seen a factory before because they're all over in China. But people would be surprised how much work goes into making a jacket or a boot. It's, I can speak to jackets a lot better, but there's a lot... there's 30 to 40 pieces of leather, each one of them cut by hand, one
By
at a
hand.
time.
So let's take me through that. Let's say, is it one person that makes a jacket? Because I see there's like signatures or whatever, or numbers that this is the employee. So the guy's making a motorcycle jacket. He grabs a shitload of leather and starts cutting it, or does one guy cut it, another guy sews it?
Yeah, so it's done a little bit more like the Henry Ford assembly line method. There's a few people in the sample department who will make a jacket from the sewing from beginning to end. But the first thing we're doing, we're laying the skins out on tables. We've got somebody who's going to inspect the skins, make sure that they're the right quality, matching for grain, for color. And then we'll put it together in bundles of 6 to 10, and then they go to the cutters. And so each...
So you just look at the leather first. Before it even goes, you go, nah, this one, barbed wire damage. This one's a weird color out of there.
I mean, the old adage is that as soon as you put a knife to it, you own it. So, that's our chance to inspect it and make sure it's been tanned to our specifications, make sure that there's not too many damages. And at that point, it goes to our cutters, who it takes 1 to 2 years to train a cutter in order to be able to work efficiently.
Wow.
And so then they're going to go and cut every piece by hand. They've got these patterns that we've created.
What are they using, like actual giant scissors?
No,
or some
it's a blade. It's a little bit like a sheetrock knife.
Right.
But it's a special blade that
it just goes up on like a cardboard pattern and they just following it?
Yeah, so we used to use like a heavy board. It's like a plastic board that we use a cutter cuts it out, like an automated cutter to get our patterns. And so they're going to use that to cut all their pieces, and then we go to inspectors, and every piece is inspected. And then that's when the fun begins. That's when it starts to enter the floor. And, these jackets just go all over the place. We've got a lining department. We've got a shell department. We've got the small area, the small goods area.
The zipper area.
Yeah, I mean, the zippers get added as they go. But, you walk from our factory from the back to the front, and you see jackets becoming more and more complete.
That's crazy.
And it's all done inside out, so there's
really?
big reveal. Yeah, because if you look at your jacket, you don't see most of the
the stitching,
together. So there's the big reveal at the end when you turn it right side out. And if anybody wants to see, there is a How It's Made episode out there.
Oh, really?
That took place
on YouTube?
In our factory. I'm assuming you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they came in a few years ago and filmed how to make a motorcycle jacket.
If I didn't do comedy, I'd move there and work for you. Like, there's two things. Like, I worked at Harley, and I was like, this isn't good. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you work with people that don't have the passion you do, like the guy comes in, looking for a yellow bike. Oh, over here, man, you got to get it. Yeah, I don't care. Just give it to me. I'm out of here. You're like, get out of here.
I'm always skeptical of people who they start as enthusiastically as you do. And, there is a lot of grunt work that's involved as well.
Oh, it gets boring. I understand. I worked at an ice cream shop. You eat 100 ice creams. You're like, this is done.
Right.
But I could imagine late night me like, okay, here's the ultimate jacket. Okay, I made it slimmer here, but the arms are a hair bigger here so you can move. And then I put red on the flaps here. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're making your own jackets in there. Like, there's got to be some employees making some bad shit, killer stuff.
Not calling it bad shit.
No, I'm saying good shit. Bad shit. Like, oh, that's badass.
My cousin came up with a crazy idea once. Every ranch has their own brand.
The branders.
And he came across one that was a heart, and it was a healed scar. And normally that's discarded. You can't put that into a jacket.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to make this jacket he was playing around with, and to put the heart on the sleeve like a tattoo almost, but on the outside. And so it turned out to be a really cool jacket. He had this crazy idea that we buy from that ranch so that we can just cut the shoulders out of the heart brand, and then you couldn't do it after the fact. It's got to be a healed scar, and it never went anywhere. But it was fun.
Now, do you ever fuck around and say, "Hey, man, make me this one here. I want it." Like, I mean, are you one of the owners?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
how many owners did you sell out to? Anybody, partners or anything?
No. So there's 3 of us, 3 family members who are still actively involved in the business as of right now.
Wow.
My mother, my uncle, and myself.
Oh, that's cool.
The owners are spread out throughout my
Like investors or something?
No. It's all within Schott family members.
Shit.
So it's just my grandparents had 3 kids, and so the ownership is.
There's got to be some fighting there, right?
No. You know what? It's all good.
Look at your wife. She's like, oh, no. We're just enjoying it. That's great.
You know what?
But I'm saying if I was an owner, I'd be like, hey, I'd find the 2 best guys in there. Hey, Billy, Frank. Okay, look, I want the Born to Run jacket. Make it look like that. You know what I mean?
You would think that. But what happens is you have to, we're all taught to work harder than anybody else.
Right.
And, I started at the bottom, sweeping floors and loading trucks, and sometimes I'm there still. It's you do whatever needs to get done, and so we have so much work to do that I wish I had more time to play around like that. But if anything, I'll end up going out into the factory and kind of playing around a little bit myself and trying to come up with some stuff.
Yeah, I was talking to Walter over at your store there, the manager, and he said that you're one of the reasons why they're starting to be like great again. They fit again and stuff.
I don't agree. I don't take responsibility for any of that.
Well, to me, it seemed like when I started falling in love with Schott again was about 4 years ago when I saw that Per 2 come out, and I was like, this is a fucking great jacket. And then, of course, I slept and didn't buy one, and they're all gone. But the Barney's one, the Supreme, like these co-ops you do, or these jackets you do with other people are incredible. And I was wondering, do they come in and go, look, we love your shit, but it's just too baggy here in the arm or whatever? Because their stuff is phenomenal. That Supreme jacket the last 2 years is unbelievable.
We've been really fortunate to get to partner with some cool brands.
Supreme is like...
Supreme is one of those. I mean, I pulled up to our store in New York one day, and Ralph Lauren was in our store. And he saw we had a vintage jacket on the wall, and we got to talking, and he wanted to buy the jacket. And it didn't feel right to sell it to him. But, we worked out a deal, and ultimately we ended up... The deal involved no money. I loaned it to him for whenever he wants to wear it. And when he's finished with it, I want it back.
Yeah.
It should remain with our archives. But... I have a lot of respect for somebody who at that point he was 74 years old and has his own clothing empire, and yet just has the passion to go out there and still shopping for products that he because he wanted to wear it. So there we ended up doing a collaboration that came out just recently.
Wow. There was one you did also what's the rustic or one of the hardware?
The restoration hardware.
Yeah, that was a great jacket too.
Yeah, so sometimes they have just a different take. I mean, for the restoration hardware jackets, it was like something they're known for leather, just in a different way, and so it seemed to work. For Supreme, we end up doing these collaborations where. We did like a blue suede jacket that probably wouldn't have any place in our line,
right?
But worked for them. They just do a great job of merchandising their collection.
Yep.
And then pulling us in to be a part of it. So that part's great. It's sometimes collaborations just work naturally when you've got 2 brands or 2 parties that have a different point of view, and it could be a lot of fun.
Especially Japanese. I think the Japanese have saved a lot of companies, or not saved them, but helped them. Like, oh, we love 613, but must be fitter. Like they're so into it. Like me, like I'm an idiot. And that's great because then it brings. Because a lot of times, not with you, but I'm just saying, companies they lose sight of who they were. A perfect example would be Harley Davidson. Mm-hmm. They should be mining their old history. Like, hey, let's put out a knucklehead again. We made the knucklehead. Let's fucking put one out and charge $100,000 for it. Here's 100 knuckleheads. You know what I mean?
Well, a funny story about that. The 613, this classic Brando jacket that we talked about, has a snap on the back of the neck that people often wonder why is the snap there? And we have a snap down collar that we make that fits on there. Well, at a certain point, nobody was buying the snap down collar in the 80s or 90s, so we stopped putting the snap on there, and it was the Japanese that really wanted it back.
Yeah,
and So we started putting the snap back on, even though we didn't make the collar. And sure enough, then people wanted the collar. And so now we'd sell a lot of the collar that goes with the jacket. But, the Japanese truly are historians, and they'll take out a magnifying glass and inspect jackets to see that they're like the originals. And so I think, for us, of course, we like to get a little creative and change things at the same time, but it's also important to remember where we came from.
Yeah.
And pay homage to that.
Now, you had a 100-year jacket came out a couple years ago, right?
Yes.
What was that? It was was it an exact replica of the first 613?
It was a D pocket.
Oh, that's right.
It was, it was as close as we could remember, or had
the old logo and everything.
Yes, that's right. It was the label was like the original box.
Yeah,
it was that same box design.
And how many did you make? Like 1,000 or something?
Yep,
yeah, because those suckers are gone.
They're out there somewhere.
Yeah, they're out there. I see them come up on eBay or stuff.
Yep.
Now, were those cut fitted, or were they like original fit? Like, were they short? Were they baggy arms? Or
no, I mean, it was pretty slim. It wasn't
right.
I would have to. If I had to throw out a guess right now, I think they're about 25 and a half, 26 inches back length.
Can people come take tours of the factory?
We don't do that right now. I guess if enough people were interested, we'd probably throw something. Some kind of
I want to see
together.
it.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to come see it for sure.
You're invited. We've had people reach out, and we try to do our best to accommodate them, but we don't have regular tour schedule or anything.
Now, how many motorcycle jackets do you have now? There seems to be like 10 or something, right?
Yeah,
there's all these different ones. You've got the 613, and it's great because I'm going to see if you know, because I don't know that. Then you have something that's like the 613, but it looks just like it, but it's a little different, like the 618 or the 118 or something. What are the rundowns of the jackets, if you know? I mean, if you don't, it's not a big deal.
So
but
there's so many different versions. The 613 has the star on the epaulette and has the non-logo snaps.
Oh, that's right. No shot on the logos.
That's right.
On the stamps.
The 618, it was the same fit as the 613 with the logo snaps and with no stars on the epaulettes. That's going to change this year as we're starting to, like I talked to you about, we're taking the underarm footballs out of the 613 to give it a slimmer arm.
Yeah.
And I think it eliminates a little bit of the redundancy. Although if we were merchandising our collection like a regular clothing company, we wouldn't have 10 different motorcycles.
Yeah, there should be 3, it seems to me.
Asymmetrical, yeah.
There should be 613, straight up classic.
Right.
And then underneath it should say Brando, Ramones, Springsteen. That's what that jacket is. Here's how it fits. You press a button, a guy spins around, you see, you go, oh, cool. Right next to it, this is the same thing, but it's a little more roomier. It has logos on it and blah, blah, blah. And then here's the third one, Cafe. We're done.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And then colors.
But again, like we talked about, some people don't want that heavy riding leather. They want it a little bit lighter.
Then the fourth one would be your fashion biker jacket.
And you need your vintage fashion biker jacket.
Well, no. What I'm saying is
horsehide,
you have the 4. Okay, there they are.
All right.
And then you just do a drop box, horsehide, blue with this. Done.
Don't forget long.
Aged or long, yeah.
All right.
Like, there you go. You have 4. But at least we know what the fuck they are. You know what I mean? It's like, because I go in and I go, the store saved my sanity because at night.
Saved your wallet, because otherwise you would have bought them all.
Well, you get on there and you're going like, oh, well, what is the difference of these, man? You know, you get all confused, you know. That's why when I put the Per 2 on, I go, oh, well, this is the one I love this.
Well, we've got the 1-800 number. Anybody can call, and we're happy to walk you through it. Or the store in L.A., their store in New York.
Store in L.A. And where's the store in New York?
It's in Nolita. It's 236 Elizabeth Street.
Yeah.
Between Houston and Prince. And we've got a lot of other really good retailers out there that carry enough of our jackets and are knowledgeable enough that if they don't have what you're looking for, they can walk you through it.
Yep.
And, that on our website, SchottNYC.com, we've got a store locator where they can look up a store.
I love your stuff, dude. This fucking jacket right here. The great thing about this jacket I have here is now I just go this in blue. this in horse, this in washed, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because the map is done. Because once you find a map that fits you right, you go, well, this is my jacket.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I'm glad that we found it.
Well, I also want the 613 there just to have a classic. Real quick before I cut you loose, Springsteen, you ever meet him? He ever come by?
No.
What?
You know, I've had some close calls.
That's absurd.
We got somebody called us who works with him. He wanted another jacket.
Yeah.
And our New York sales rep is such a big fan.
Oh, yeah.
He got weak in the knees at the idea. He said, I'll do anything. I'll set up in his house. I'll take the whole collection to him.
Yeah.
I offered. They said, no, just send a catalog. That'd be fine. Thanks.
And
we sent 2 jackets. He tried them on, and he actually that time got a leather peacoat that he wanted.
Oh, wow.
Offered to pay. We didn't require that at all. It was our honor, really. And so we sent 2. He tried them both, kept one, sent the other one back. And so this sales rep, was trying it on like Bruce Springsteen wore this jacket.
Whoa, weirdo.
It was, well, another time we were backstage at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he came by. You know, it was an incredible opportunity to meet some really great artists. I mean, ZZ Top. Billy Gibbons is the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, he's the best.
And David Crosby said, these jackets are made in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I love the fuck out of that. It was really great. And Bruce Springsteen came nearby. Jerry got weak in the knees again, but he didn't stop.
What about? I want to ask one last question. How did that jacket get onto the Wild Ones? Was it just they just bought it at a store?
Yeah, I mean,
it was just a fluke.
Is the case with most of our product placements. Most of the time, it's just pure luck. You know, it was they bought it in a costume shop in L.A. And,
wow.
It was just one of those lucky things.
That's incredible. What's an XL? The XL, what's that thing? It looks like Schott. It says Excellent or XL, that
I don't know.
brand. It was like 80s. I thought it was like your low-end brand.
No. We had another brand called Durojack.
Not that. This shit's like XL or whatever. You've seen it, haven't you?
Oh, there's another company called Excelled.
Yeah, they just. I always thought it was like a low end Schott, like like a side company and just made
we
cheap.
had nothing to do with that.
Oh well, fuck those guys. That shit's junk. I always hated it because you looked at it and you was like, "Are these made of plastic?"
Right.
Like it was weird. Like even if they were 20 years old, they looked bunk.
Yeah,
you know.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tricks you can play with leather.
Oh yeah.
It's still technically leather, but you just put enough finish on it that it could be anything, basically.
Well, my Schott had a clear coat over. I remember in the kind of like, I think it was late 80s or so, they were coating jackets because people wanted them to look new all the time. Mm-hmm. So I just took like a light steel wool and just took that finish off.
Right.
Because I was like, look at this thing. It's all shiny all the time. And Metallica's didn't look like mine. They had Schotts, but theirs were probably like 5 years older, and theirs looked all cool and grimy and shit. I was like, mine looks it had a sheen on it. Yep. So then I remember my buddy's like, yeah, let's just sand it off.
Not generally recommended.
Yeah, just ruining shit, man. Well, man, I'm so glad I got to have you on. I love your stuff, and I hope to come to the factory.
Thank you.
Now I got your cell number, so I'm going to be your nightmare. You're going to be like, this fucking guy again.
Do not disturb.
I'm telling you, man, it's a bummer when you meet people that have the stuff you love.
It's been my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to coming tonight and seeing you do what you do.
Oh, we're going to have a great time.
So it would only be fair for me to open up my factory and our factory and share what we do with you.
Let me ask that before. There's a custom make thing on there now. You can custom make shit. Is that fully from the ground up?
Well, unfortunately, there's so much pattern work involved.
Right.
Out with new styles that I've had people approach us who want. They take a jacket from a different brand and they want us to make it.
Not like that. I'm saying, though, you can make any style that's in your thing, like color combos and shit.
Another thing that I should point out is people contact us and they say, oh, I'm a large in, name a brand, whatever.
Yeah.
What size would I be in Schott? And I nobody can answer that question. If somebody said, I'm a size 42 in Schott, I wouldn't know how to answer that.
It's just like Nike. You know, they go, I wear a 9 in Nike. What do I wear in Puma? Right. I don't know. Go try it on.
Right.
You know,
sometimes, So, but yes, we will make jackets from our styles, any modifications. I mean, we'd like to do more of it. Sometimes we get a little too busy because our sample making department just gets overwhelmed. But we try to do as much of the custom stuff as we can, and we've made some pretty cool jackets out of it.
That's badass. I mean, I just looked in this magazine and saw the blue one, red, green. It was like a Cadillac green. I remember I had a Cadillac that was green. Those things are bad. I love the colored leathers. Because the way they look when they get dirty and old, they look so like just Hollywood junky. You know, like, whoa, where'd that guy get that? It looked like something he just picked up and was rolling, you know?
We might have to use that for our marketing campaign.
There you go. Hey, are you looking for the Hollywood junky look?
We've got just the thing for
you. We can make you any Hollywood junky look you want.
Exactly.
Well, shit, man. Thank you so much. Let's run the website again. It's shottnyc.com.
That's right.
And you got to go there, man. There's a new one I love. It's the camouflage one. It was camo body with the black arms.
Yes.
So dope. All right, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There he is. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later.